Welcome to Good Game, the show for gamers by gamers. I'm Hex.
And I'm Barjo, and this is our very final episode of the year.
But you better settle into that couch groove because this is an extended episode, a full 1 hour.
And it's a good thing too, because we still have so many great games to review.
Our side-scrolling skills are put to the test in Rayman Origins.
The latest games to get a thorough facelift, Halo Anniversary, and GoldenEye Reloaded.
If I still had fingers, they'd be crossed.
And the Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Goose will also be along later with his timely guide to ensuring you get the game you want for Christmas.
And we'll be handing out our Good Game Awards for 2011, and we'll be announcing the winner of Bats.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
But first, can you guess the game for this week?
You win!
We have another prize to give away this week, this stunning Rayman artwork canvas. To win it, you need to tell us in 100 words or less by posting on the forums or commenting on the picture on the Facebook page why your den of gaming would be vastly improved with the addition of this print.
But speaking of Rayman, we better start reviewing that game, I think. Excellent, let's get to it. Can you help me with this hat? It's really hot.
Well, now you're gonna have hat hair. Oh, it's bad.
Oh, I can breathe.
Oh, it's bad.
Fix it. Fix it.
No, there's no fixing that.
Fixed. Well, he may have no arms, neck, or any legs, but the platforming hero Rayman is more than capable of whisking us away for a bit of jumping fun. He's been doing it since 1995. Rayman Origins returns us to the character's 2D roots, where side-scrolling stunts are the order of the day.
Origins starts with a rather humorous cutscene in which Rayman and his pals disturb the creator of the Glade. Who in turn unleashes her force of the livid dead upon the surface world. What this boils down to is that you'll need to collect all the lums, which is basically like collecting coins in a Mario game, but you'll need some serious platforming skills to reach them all.
You'll also be aiming to free the Electoons, little pink guys who are caged up and hidden within each level. Getting enough of these will unlock new stages, and along with the lums, they become your motivation for playing these levels over and over until you crack 100% completion. Hex, playing these levels multiple times was never a problem, was it? What a beautifully animated world.
Yes, it's instantly charming. Michelle Ansell, the creator of Rayman, helped to develop an entirely new art and animation technology called UbiArt, and the results are there for all to see. It's just amazing.
Rayman has always been a charismatic little character, but it's so nice to see such fluid and detailed artwork really make the most of him and his pals. There was always something about seeing Rayman with a 3D engine that was a bit drab, but here it's like seeing a beautiful cartoon.
There's a level of polish in Origins that you normally only see in Nintendo's best side-scrollers. The controls feel so refined and everything animates so smoothly. And it's just so easy to pick up and play regardless of your skill level. Did it remind you of your 16-bit Days badge?
It certainly did, Hex. Those fast-moving levels just made Sonic pop into my mind, and it reminded me a lot of Donkey Kong Country. I think Ubisoft have done a good job here of mixing things up. The addition of moves like being able to sprint, run up walls, and hover in the air, it all allows for some pretty tricky platforming. And there's a good challenge here, isn't there?
Yes, figuring out how to get some of those deviously placed lums will see you playing the same level over and over and over again until you figure out how to catch them all and survive the level intact. Seeing that tube fill up at the end of each stage is such a tease. I just need a few more lums.
What makes a great platformer for me is the rhythm of that level design, and Origins definitely has that. You can just run in one direction and time those jumps to perfectly collect lums and deftly dodge obstacles without ever stopping to line anything up. The fact that this game has time trial challenges on each stage is testament to that design.
Yeah, the level design is just superb. Every area has something to challenge you, from falling ledges and leaps of faith to bounce pads, death traps, and even the occasional shoot-'em-up stage. I got a little bit close to rage quitting at times, though. There are definitely 1 or 2 difficulty spikes.
Maybe, but it's great each level has checkpoints in the form of those doors you pass through. When you die and have to collect all those lums again, you never feel like you have to replay too much. We should mention that you don't actually just play as Rayman. There's a whole bunch of characters to choose from, and this expanded cast allows for multiple players in co-op, which is both a blessing and a curse. It can make it easier to increase your end-of-level lum tally, but having up to 4 characters on screen is pretty chaotic, so it's hard to see where you're meant to jump. I would suggest just 2 players at most.
I feel like that's always the way with 4-player co-op games, isn't it? It's just too much chaos on the screen at once. Plus, there's always somebody who races ahead, and it usually means death to anyone else who can't keep up. But at least when you die, you're not kicked from the game. You just go into bubble form and float back to your friends, where someone can smack you back into a solid shape again. You enjoyed just smacking me for no reason, though, didn't you, Barjo?
Couldn't help it. I could not resist those animations. We should mention the music as well, which those little tunes just got stuck in my head for days, and it adds to the whole feel-good approach to this game, I think.
The whole creative vision to this game was just wonderful. I mean, the old-school platforming nature may not appeal to everyone, but there's a definite charm to this game that's just impossible to resist. I'm giving it 8.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
We've had a lot of great platformers, indie ones really, so it's good to see a AAA platform game, and it made me nostalgic, and I like that a lot. I'm giving it 8.5 out of 10. I'm feeling rather spiffy and important because it's time to hand out the very first of our highly coveted Good Game Awards for 2011.
Joining us to help hand them out is our co-host from Good Games Spawn Point, Darren.
Barjo, Hex, it is a great honour to be here tonight as the biggest and best games of the year that was.
Yes, okay, Darren. Well, as is customary in most award shows, there are the pre-show awards, the boring ones, which we've already decided on, and they are...
Well, with that out of the way, we can move on to our first award of the night, Big Claim Lame Game. This award will go to the game that more than any other failed to live up to the hype.
Yes, and we mean no malice towards the developers. Even the best of devs can have bad hair days. Remember Haze? But games are not cheap, which is why they do feel like betrayals. There, I said it. Darren, the nominations, if you please.
The nominees for Big Claim Lame Game are... Duke Nukem Forever for its tragically outdated gameplay. Dragon Age 2 for feeling like a rushed cash-in sequel. Brink for failing to reinvent the multiplayer shooter. Body Count for its woefully inadequate enemy AI. And We Dare for its promise of kinky liaisons.
And the winner is... Brink.
There was quite a spread of nominations for this category, so much material to work with, so many memories, so much disappoint.
Yes, and we did have to override the popular vote of Duke Nukem Forever because it never claimed to be the next Halo, so it doesn't really belong in this category.
Why didn't we think of that?
Brown pants.
Brink, on the other hand, did promise to reinvent online shooting, and it was a categorical failure. I mean, where to start? The smart parkour movement system that was effectively useless, the boxy, uninspired level layouts, the loading times.
Not to mention the gunplay, it was fundamentally unsatisfying to shoot the guns in Brink, and it looked bad, especially on the Xbox, and we can't really ignore the single player, which was just multiplayer with bots. In fairness, a lot of this was fixed with a patch, but still it was too little too late, and that ship had sailed. So, congratulations to Brink.
Well done.
Good game.
Hello, all you viewers out there. My name is Lars Gustafsson. I'm the multiplayer lead designer for Battlefield 3 from DICE, all the way from Sweden, far, far away. You know, in Sweden there's plenty of snow, so from the bottom of my heart, I would like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas, or like we say in Sweden, God Jul.
I love this time of year badge because while we get so caught up in the amazing flood of games we get heading towards Christmas, we also get the opportunity to really reflect on some of the games we played earlier in the year, so I thought I'd talk about some of mine. Probably the most memorable for me was The Witcher 2.
You're not going to show that montage again, are you?
What, this one? What what a dreamboat. In all seriousness though, that's not my only reason for loving this game. I think it might actually be one of my most memorable gaming experiences ever, because when it comes to fantasy, I'm always looking for that perfect adventure. That perfect combination of a beautifully crafted world, involving story, great characters and adventuring, and of course a combat and magic system that really makes you feel like a force of power in that world. To me, that's my ideal formula for escapism, and this is the first time a game just ticked every single box. Apart from being one of the most graphically beautiful games I've ever laid eyes on, I was also wowed by artfully designed swordplay with some seriously impressive finishes. I know you love the combat in Dark Souls, and while this may not be quite as sophisticated, it's still a wonderful swordplay that really makes you feel like a skilled fighter with combos and chained attacks that are just a joy to execute. Add to that Geralt's magical abilities, and I was just so taken with it all.
And, it's really important in a role-playing game to feel like you're actually playing a role, and here you did, because you have those wonderful dialogue options that have a real effect on the story.
Yeah, exactly. This game wasn't perfect, it had its flaws, but as a true lover of fantasy, it was just a dream. I read all the books this game was based on, well, the ones in English anyway, and I had posters on my wall. I just wanted to immerse myself in the world entirely.
Yes, I'm desperate for a Witcher 3, I must say.
Yeah, there were so many great releases this year. I loved Bastion, that gorgeous downloadable title with its cool narration and vibrant, colourful world.
Ground forms up under his feet as if pointing the way. He don't stop to wonder why.
It was one of the best surprises to come out of my trip to E3. And Uncharted 3 just renewed my love for treasure hunting and running from a constant string of explosions. But another game that my mind constantly wanders back to is L.A. Noire. Now, this is a game we're a little bit back and forth on, wasn't it?
Yeah, that motion capture is just unmatched. It is absolutely incredible, and I loved the first half of this game, but the second half, I worked out how everything works, and I just felt like it was messy and unpolished and wasn't as dynamic as I wanted it to be.
Yeah, but you know what? I still couldn't put it down. I played this game from start to finish with barely any sleep in between. At times, I found the truth, doubt, lie formula a little frustrating and inconsistent, but it didn't change the fact that this is a game that made me feel like a real detective. I found myself having to draw on my ability to remember certain aspects of a person's demeanour, or a throwaway comment, maybe a subtle sideways glance, and that's just thrilling, especially for a game. Did you ever think years ago that we'd be having this kind of experience in a game?
Hollywood could use another couple of deeply unfunny white bread humps like you.
Very good, Jermaine. You have character.
It's a shame that all that drama surrounding Team Bondi overshadowed the game a little bit.
Exactly, and I think it's really important to remember that this is something that was really new for the games industry, and while it wasn't perfect, I think it was a real accomplishment and a sophisticated addition to the world of gaming, and absolutely one of my standouts for the year.
Good game.
Magic, then back to worthy, right? Boom! 2 points.
Ladies and gentlemen, nice suit.
Drop it, dickhead! It's the police!
Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
Unknown number of terrorists armed with automatic weapons at Nakatomi Plaza.
The roof. Go, go.
Girls.
Out of hell with this. No more table.
Gennaro. Miss Gennaro.
Hans. Booby.
Shoot the glass.
I shot a kid. You should have heard your brother squeal when I broke his f***ing neck.
Hans.
Hans Booby.
As we all know, Aussie devs have had a pretty rough past 12 months.
They sure have, but if there's one silver lining in what's been happening, it's games like Epoch.
Developed by Uppercut Games, an Aussie studio formed by ex-employees from 2K and Irrational, Epoch is set in a dystopian future now occupied by a variety of droids, all with one mission: total destruction.
You play through the campaign as a guardian robot. At first you have limited equipment and skills, but you pick up one upgrade from each level. These are things like heavier armor and missile launchers.
Data intercepts left over from the human race explain the events from a variety of characters, including the president, while others are more personal and tell a very human story.
The basic overall theme is that when robots learn how to use weapons, watch out.
Yeah, I mean, if sci-fi has taught us anything, it's don't teach robots how to shoot.
I had a great time with this game. It's some of the best shooting mechanics I've seen on an iOS platform. The way you target enemies, fire, and then cover is just so smooth. I think the difficulty curve needs a bit of work though. It gets way too hard towards the end of the game and I wish it had a more gradual flow over it.
Shooters are one of the harder games to do well on a mobile device, and I think the guys at Epoch have come up with a really innovative way to keep you engaged. To make it through to the end though, you do need to play through a few levels more than once just to get enough credits to get, the right gear to keep you moving forward. So there is that little bit of repetition involved.
We haven't even touched on the visuals, which I think must be pushing what the Unreal Engine can do on a device like this. All those textures and lighting just bring the world of Epoch to life. I'm gonna give it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I loved it as well. It's an 8 from me too.
There has been an indie invasion this year. Innovative titles from small teams, not beholden to boards or shareholders, but only to their inner artistes.
Over to you, Darren.
The nominees for the Quiet Achiever Award are Bastion, Magica, Terraria, Frozen Synapse, and Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery EP.
And the winner is... Thank you, Darren. Terraria.
Terraria. Yeah. To the uninitiated, it might just look like a 2D Minecraft. You'll be digging ores, fighting monsters in a truly enormous game world.
But there's so much more to it. Distinct climates are home to a myriad of beasts, slimes, skeletons, man-eating plants, and you could just dig down, 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 all the way to hell. You felt like you were plunging ever deeper into a rich fantasy world that you could never completely tame.
And then there's the co-op. Team killing is always fun, but it's especially fun in Terraria. Setting up little traps for people, burning them with lava.
You bastard! Look at the mayhem.
And placing that one little block which can cause so much grief and destruction in a elevator. And how about that pickaxe animation? So good.
Now, before you start fretting in the forums, we did consider all the viewer votes for Minecraft, but it doesn't qualify for a couple of reasons. For one thing, the beta came out last year, so it doesn't really count as a 2011 title, even if it did just hit version 1.0. More importantly, with 4 million copies sold, zillions of mods and hacks, and a full-bore convention, Minecraft is hardly a quiet achiever. If we had an award for loudest achiever, it'd be a different story.
And to be fair, all the nominees are winners, really. The haunting auto-narration of Bastion, the pixelated fantasy of Sword and Sorcery,
the rock-solid turn-based strategy of Frozen Synapse. Oh, so obsessive.
Oh, it's game over.
And of course, the griefing of Magica.
Yeah, I did grief you a bit in that.
Yes, you did.
Stop it!
The creator of Terraria, Andrew Redigit Spinks, has been quiet for a while now, but I have heard that there is an update coming which may include unicorns. So we might have to pick up that pickaxe and get back into it, because I really want a unicorn.
Oh, unicorns.
And I want to burn everyone in lava.
To be with you and make believe with you and live in harmony, harmony always.
I never learned the words, I just kind of mumble along.
What's the words? Is it all? Oh, is it always at the end? I always said, "Oh, love."
Oh, no, you're right. It is Oh Love.
I am right.
Oh Love.
Oh, love. Yeah, it's good.
I'm glad we sorted that out.
I got it.
I'm glad we sorted all that
Got it
out.
covered, you guys.
Yep.
Erasure. Lyrics come to me.
That fixed.
Good game.
So, guys, are you going to do a big year in review for 2011?
Yeah. Badger?
Yeah, that sounds great. Here's some research, Goose.
Well, 2011 has been a year of incredible innovation and ever-hastening change. This was the year that Gears Award director Cliffy B declared the AA game an endangered species, with big studios unwilling to bank on anything but epic mega games and viral independent titles overrunning the rest of the market. At the vanguard of the indie invasion were the Swedes. Their digital Viking ships crested the DLC wave, with Minecraft still racking up millions in sales. January also saw the cheeky startup Arrowhead launch Magica, an explosively funny game of co-op wizard combat. February saw the Japanese launch of the Nintendo 3DS, the first game system to boast goggle-free 3D graphics. It was fun, for a while, but the novelty soon wore off, and within months, Nintendo was forced to announce a humiliating price drop. March Madness, month number 3, heralded the year of the threequel. With the launch of Fear 3, 2011 would see many more threequels: Resistance 3, Battlefield 3, Uncharted 3, Gears 3, Modern Warfare 3, Killzone 3, Patapon 3, Saints Row the Third, and The Sims 3 on 3DS. When Mass Effect 3 slipped to next year, it was almost a relief. March also saw Spawnlings young and old delight to the launch of Pokemon Black and White. Pikachu! Come April, the world learned the hard way that science can be used for both good and evil. While Valve delighted gamers with the brain-twisting puzzler Portal 2, hackers unknown brought the PlayStation Network to its knees. Sony pulled the plug on the PS3's online service after it became clear that details of 77 million PSN accounts had been compromised. The outage lasted 23 days. Sony subsequently changed the terms and conditions of the PSN to bar users from launching class action lawsuits should history repeat itself. In legal terms, that's called a classy move. 2011 was also the year of Lulsec, the mischievous hacker collective that targeted game companies seemingly at random. Bethesda, Minecraft, League of Legends, Lulsec couldn't be bought, bullied, reasoned or negotiated with. They were hacking for the lulz. They took down the Heroes of Newerth server simply because, according to them, Dota is better. In May, the PSN came back online, but the technical difficulties kept on coming. Duke Nukem Forever, scheduled for a much publicised May release, was pushed back for one last time. Gearbox finally got the Duke's latest adventure out the door on June 10. Was it worth the 14-year wait? No, it was not.
No, what am I doing?
LA Noire was worth the wait.
Who are you guys? What are you doing in here?
We're from the LAPD, ma'am. Do you know where we might find McCaffrey?
June, E3, the Electronic Entertainment Expo in LA. The big event the games industry saves all its biggest announcements for. And the biggest announcement of the year was Nintendo's successor to the Wii, the Wii U.
So today, welcome to the world of Wii U.
Oh, I see you. I'm coming for you.
When it eventually goes on sale, this unit will feature a controller with a built-in colour screen. A system within a system, or a gimmick within a gimmick. The Wii U is already proving divisive. Some see new potential for innovation, while others are beginning to wonder if the Big N has finally lost its mojo. Meanwhile, a real revolution was taking place. June saw a slew of big-name online games go free-to-play. Age of Conan, Team Fortress 2 and World of Warcraft, well, at least up until you get your first mount. Long the dominant business model in the wild, wild east, the free-to-play microtransaction wave finally crashed on Western shores. Come July, we got another reminder of just how far this medium has come, with the 30th birthday of a very cheeky monkey, Donkey Kong. We also got a prophecy with id Software founder John Carmack, predicting that rapidly evolving mobile phones would soon be more powerful than the PS3. Change doesn't just create winners though, it also creates losers. Even as Aussie games were dominating the iPhone hit parade, Aussie studios were walking the plank. In August, THQ shut down 2 local devs, Brisbane-based THQ Studios Australia and Melbourne-based Blue Tongue Entertainment, the home of De Blob. The bloodbath continued in September. Team Bondi entered administration and EA terminated Visceral Games Studios Melbourne. Visceral Melbourne had been working on an unannounced project for 3 years, but EA convinced itself that Bloodlust would never make its development costs back, and that was that. Finito. September also saw red faces at Polish developer Techland after a buggy build of Dead Island was uploaded by mistake to the Steam game distribution service. A peek at the game's code revealed that one character perk had the working title of Feminist Whore. The coder responsible for the slur never dreamed that the public would lay eyes on the decidedly un-PC little Easter egg. It was the biggest hidden obscenity scandal since the hot coffee mode in GTA San Andreas. Techland swiftly apologised. History and tragedy in October when Apple co-founder Steve Jobs finally lost his long battle with pancreatic cancer. November saw 2 legendary games finally launch. On the 11th, The Infinite Quest of Skyrim, and on the 18th, The Infinite Caverns of Minecraft. And their creators aren't just competing for sales. Bethesda is now suing Mojang, claiming its new online card game Scrolls infringes on the trademark for the Elder Scrolls. Mojang's founder, Marcus Notch Persson, tried to settle this by challenging Bethesda to a Quake 3 arena tournament. Bethesda declined. December. With Christmas cheer in the air and New Year just around the corner, Sony is poised to give a new child unto the world, the PlayStation Vita portable console. It was also a year where, by our count, more Aussie voices invaded the world of games than ever before. They were mostly terrible. Dead Island was the worst offender, but there was also Dirt 3, X-Men Destiny, Gears of War 3, Motorstorm Apocalypse, Dead Space 2. Yes, we even made it to Skyrim.
Running out of room, eh? I'll be glad to help.
Looking ahead, rumours abound of new model Xboxes and PlayStations arriving next year to battle the Wii U. But as 2011 draws to a close, we're left celebrating the golden age of this generation of consoles, when developers and coders were able to squeeze ever greater experiences into the games we've loved to play. Stephen, let's go.
Barjo, this year many a brave hero and courageous heroine have fallen on the bloodied road to endgame glory.
And now it's time we honour those video game characters that we've lost this year. And as far as spoilers go, you can't get much more spoilerific than this.
That's right, so if you haven't finished any of the following titles, then you really need to go away for a few minutes. I'm serious, we're about to tell you who dies in like a bunch of games.
You better go, right now. Okay, now without further ado, our in memoriam for 2011.
I've saved some hawks for you.
Well, I love the chase till the minute I win it. A beautiful face till there's love for me in it. Give me your heart and baby I'll bill it, 'cause I always kill the things I love. Anytime you want to play again, just let us know. 'Cause I already killed the things I love.
Still here.
The things I love.
You've been running with him like this, huh? Hurry up!
Things I love.
As we saw with the masterful remasters of Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, a lot of classic games are getting a high-definition facelift. So Hex, how about we look at some more?
In GoldenEye Reloaded, you once again play as 007.
Hang on a sec, Hex. Back it up. Have we had this conversation? I'm getting mad deja vu.
Yeah, but that was for the Wii version and that wasn't in HD. This is the new release for the Xbox 360 and PS3.
Ah yes, this is the re-release of a remastered game from an original title from 1997.
Yeah, well, you just have to think of this as a Bond film and try not to think too hard about it.
Not a problem.
You play as Bond, but Daniel Craig's Bond, and like the Wii version, the story and characters have had a major cosmetic change to make it more relevant for today.
See reflections on the water.
But the story is essentially the same. You have to prevent the GoldenEye weapon from falling into the wrong hands. Some of the characters have had their motivations and backstory changed, but essentially it is the same single-player campaign.
Stop it! Both of you! You are like boys with toys.
Yeah, how much you care about these changes will really depend on how much of a fan you were of the original.
I've thoroughly enjoyed Bloodstone and especially Quantum of Solace, so it was good to see Daniel Craig back, and you know, I don't really miss Brosnan that much, to be honest, anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me either, and you know, the one question that I actually ask myself when I'm playing a Bond game is, does it make me feel like Bond? And this one certainly does. Plus, Daniel Craig has pursed lips.
Take off your parachute.
Maybe you insist?
From the over-the-top action sequences to adding a silencer to my PPK ready for stealth espionage, you do get that 00 vibe.
Multiplayer has probably the biggest makeover, with the classic 4-player split screen still as addictive as ever. But it's the online maps that allow up to 16 players, which will excite many gamers.
Absolutely. GoldenEye became a classic because of its multiplayer, and while it might feel a little bit dated now, it's still just as much fun. There's Golden Gun and Paintball mode, and the extra challenge of no regenerating or relying on health packs.
It's not the prettiest game out there, and it doesn't compare with modern shooters, but Eurocom have done a good job updating the textures and environments.
Yeah, I don't think they were planning on reinventing the GoldenEye legacy, but the devs have said they built this new version from the ground up. I think this is about giving Bond fans who don't have a Wii a chance to see what this is all about, and people who loved and played GoldenEye 64 will get a great kick of nostalgia out of this.
Yeah, I think if you played the Wii version, I couldn't really recommend this. It's not different enough, but it's a solid remastered remake of an original remake, so I'm giving it 7 out of 10 rubber chicken.
If you played the 64 version and don't have a Wii, I can't not recommend this. It's brilliant. I'm giving it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Now we move on to another FPS classic, the long-awaited Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary. Halo was an important game. It almost single-handedly secured the place of the Xbox, but also it finished off what GoldenEye started, which is showing that console shooters can be done, and in fact they can work very, very well. And now 10 years on, Halo is back, and it still has a lot to teach, except this time it's showing how a remake should be done.
Punch it.
This isn't your average HD upgrade. Everything here has been given a massive facelift. By adding in heaps more detail, better textures and some real-time lighting, you'll never guess that you're playing a 10-year-old game. That is until you press that back button and get whisked away to graphics of yore.
Yeah, it's the best of both worlds, isn't it? Purists can still indulge in the same old graphics, updated in widescreen and HD, but with a button press they get a game that doesn't look out of place in 2011. And since the new graphics are simply running on top of the old Halo engine, it plays exactly how we remember, warts and all.
This way!
Weird animations, frame rate and loading hitches. If it was in the original, it's back here too.
I think that after years of first-person shooters doing the Call of Duty thing, Halo still feels like one of the most innovative and different shooters available, at least in the campaign. And personally, I'd still say that this stands up as one of the best out of all the Halo campaigns, even with those repeated levels.
Yeah, and the AI here is still some of the best in the business. The way the grunts, jackals, and elites all work together makes for some tense firefights that rarely play out in the same way twice. And maybe I'm alone in this, but I do enjoy fighting the Flood as long as I have a shotty.
The music has also been given a once-over. It's been completely re-recorded with a full orchestra, so it just sounds better than ever. You can revert back to the old soundtrack if you want to, though.
The weapons have also been given a sound revamp. You can't revert to the originals with them, but I thought they were all great, especially that shotgun. All about shotties today.
One new feature are the terminals hidden throughout each level. Each one has a beautifully animated short story explaining a little bit more about the history of Halo or some of the events around each level. They're pretty hard to find and even harder to follow if you're not well trained in your Halo lore. But for clued up fans, they're a great insight into the universe and perhaps a hint at what's to come in Halo 4?
While all of this was in accordance with the plan, one entirely unsatisfactory breakdown remained. We had no contact with the domain.
Along with the terminals, there's also a skull hidden in each level, and these modify the game in various wacky ways, and they mix things up a bit.
And of course, split-screen co-op is back, but now for the first time ever, you can play through the campaign cooperatively with a whole screen to yourself, thanks to online co-op. There's no matchmaking though, so you'll need to have a co-op date.
I was a bit sad that they didn't bring across the full classic multiplayer though. What you do get are 6 remade classic maps and 1 new firefight map, which all run on the Reach engine. You can play them straight from the disc or export the maps to Reach, but either way, you're still playing Reach. And I understand why they did it, they don't want to split their player base, but there's enough Halo players out there. Player bases be damned.
They have added in some classic playlists though, which bring Halo's ridiculously overpowered pistol into Reach, which give it more of a traditional Halo vibe. And it's great to have those classic maps back, but it would have just been perfect icing on the anniversary cake to just have some classic classic multiplayer as well, even if it was just offline 4-player in System Link.
We should mention the voice commands. If you have a Kinect, you can now say Analyze to bring up the new Analyze mode. Then by saying Scan, you can scan weapons and enemies into a database, which gives you some facts and a nice 3D model to play with. It's about as much fun as it sounds, but it's there.
You can also throw grenades, reload, pause, change brightness, and a whole bunch of other things using voice, but I don't know, this felt kind of dumb. It's pretty imprecise, and it's a lot more effort to throw a grenade using your voice than it is just to pull a trigger. But worse, it seemed to activate commands randomly, and sometimes the brightness would change or a grenade would suddenly come flying out of my hand.
It's nice to see a remake given such love, and the fans really do appreciate it. So I'm giving this 9 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Yeah, and with the new terminals and skulls, even the most hardened Halo veteran will still find a lot of new stuff to love, so it's a 9 from me too.
What happened over here?
I'd like to wish everybody a good game, a very Merry Christmas.
Hey there, little guy. Didn't get the game you wanted this year? Want to guarantee you get the game you really wanted for Christmas? Well, just follow Goose's guide to good game gifting. Look, some family and friends wouldn't know a AAA title if it was even this obvious. So for starters, maybe leave a couple of helpful notes around the house for games you actually want. Maybe try dropping a couple of game names in a conversation with your friends. So my friend Mario was in a bit of a rage. He was out mapping an uncharted area, and it was a far cry from Batman, Arkham City. Okay. Cheers. But if all those measures don't go to plan, here's how to avoid that especially awkward moment after unwrapping. Remember, don't be too ungrateful when you receive the gift. Oh, thanks, Nan. You shouldn't have. But at the same time, you don't want to oversell it. Oh, Nan, thank you so much. Oh, come on. Your gifter may insist you play the game straight away, but remember the golden rule, keep the packaging intact. Oh, no, Nan, I thought today's all about family, so tell me about your latest foot operation. Your last but most important mission, hunt down that receipt and hang on to it. Look, in the end, we know Christmas is about more than just the presents. It's about spending time with your friends and family, and maybe knocking a couple of games off that pile of shame.
What was that?
Well, that was the spoiler alarm, Barge. I remember you insisted we have it installed last time after Goose told you what happened at the end of Battletoads.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, that can only mean one thing. We're about to announce the Good Game Award for Most Memorable Moment of 2011, which means you're about to see some mad spoilers.
Yeah, so if any of the following games are on your pile of shame, then, well, you have been warned. Just run off and make a toasted cheese sandwich or something.
Yeah. Darren, the nominations, if you please.
And so, the nominees for the most memorable gaming moment of 2011 are... The end of Portal 2, the opening sequence of Dead Space 2, that first glide into Arkham City in Batman Arkham City, fighting your first dragon in Skyrim, flying a jet for the first time in Battlefield 3, and Fiora getting sliced in Xenoblade Chronicles.
And the winner is...
The end of Portal 2!
Way to spoil it, Darren.
Affirmative.
Well, well, well. Welcome to my land.
In the final boss fight at the end of Portal 2, there's a pivotal moment where you use your handheld portal device to create a wormhole link to the moon. The freaking moon! I did not see that coming.
I know, right? You see that silvery disc through a gap in the roof and you think, no, there's no way they're gonna let you do it. And then the game lets you do it, and it's brilliant and a wonderful memory that I will treasure for a long time.
And after Wheatley flies off into space came two more surprises. First, a personal congratulations from GLaDOS herself. I never thought the queen of passive aggression would actually give you some props.
I thought you were my greatest enemy, when all along you were my best friend.
And then the turret opera. a rousing conclusion to a physics puzzle odyssey. The adorable little murder robots who have hounded you for 2 whole games perform a soaring musical number as you rise to the surface and freedom.
Catharsis, harmony, and the spirit of wonder. Uncle Gabe, you did it again.
Alright, now it's my turn to get personal about the games of 2011.
Are you just going to talk about Dark Souls for half an hour?
Thanks. Yes. What an incredible game. After 85 hours of extreme highs and painful, teary lows, I finally finished it. This game's compelling tentacles wrapped around the souls of many of us in the office and tightened and squeezed until we could think about nothing else. There's not many games where you really have to stop and think, but this was one of the first games in a very long time where I had to sit up and go, okay, how do I do this? You know, it was such a shift in the way I play, and that's what I reveled in, something very different and unique. And the further I got into this dark and twisted and lonely world, the more I reveled in that challenge and needed to finish it, compelled to beat it till I was beaten or it was beaten. And at times it truly is a terrifying world, not just because of the threat, but also because of these freaking ghosts. After a while, you realize that everything in this game is actually very achievable. You just have to do heaps of co-op so you can learn the fights and learn the areas first with someone who's already been through it. And the drip feed of gear throughout the game is actually really subtle, but it gives you hints on where you need to go next. I do wish it had a PvP arena though.
Well, the whole game is sort of a PvP arena, really.
Yeah, I don't think I managed to beat a single invader. They all just smashed me, and even the ones that bowed first, politely before the fight. All right, I'm ready, dead. 2 shots. A lot of the PvP builds and gear just make it impossible to beat them, and some of the weapons are a bit overpowered, and some of the gear too, such as the set you get in the Demon Ruins, which lasts you most of the game. And some of the areas are incredibly framey, such as Blight Town, but then you come across something like Anor Londo, the beautiful city with its slow-moving, tough nights. And the chilling underground zone of the Ash Lake, where you get the awesome dragon head. I'm a dragon. The enemies and character design in this game are just unmatched, and also their attack patterns. I could attack those little mushroom guys forever, Hex.
Aw, poor little guy.
Don't feel too bad for them. Their parents killed me about 1 billion times. I got something here that I didn't get with Demon's Souls, and maybe I just didn't click over to it, but here I was just on the edge of my seat the entire 85 hours, every single second of it. And I think it's because I read this thing from the developer who said that in most games you don't really learn from death, you know, you just kind of get punished and then you do it again, but here you truly do learn from death and from the death of others with all those little writings on the ground and the blood stains. And that's something which is really important because it makes you feel like you've learned something and you've actually achieved something. And that's why you see those crazy speedruns on the web which beat this game in just a few hours.
It's so awesome to hear you talking about it so passionately. I just don't think I could commit to the frustration of constant death, although that swordplate does look incredible.
Another game I was really obsessed about too was Rift, simply because it was a good modern MMO I could play with friends that looked and played beautifully.
Yeah, it was just gorgeous, wasn't it?
Yeah, it did run out of zones at about level 40 though. It all kind of started to look a bit the same, but still I had a great time there. Another game I'd like to talk about is Duke Nukem Forever. I think I'm the only one in the world who really had a great time with that game. Don't get me wrong, the console versions are total rubbish, but I loved it on PC. It took me back to the 90s, and it took me back to old ideas, you know, old ideas in games which you can kind of see that evolution. So I felt like I was reviewing a black and white film.
Time for an examination, ladies.
Albeit a very tasteless black and white film, and maybe that's why it clouded my judgment a little bit, but also I was still reeling from Andrew Hansen's We Dare review. Yes! I was also slightly obsessed with Terraria, but the real standout for me out of everything was Xenoblade Chronicles. Here is a JRPG, I'm not a huge fan of them, and this game just made me just made me fall in love with an entire genre. Such simple graphics on the Wii, albeit a beautiful game, but just such simple text and facial expressions managed to convey this incredible story and emotion that I hadn't felt in a game in a long time.
Just make sure you get out of here alive.
It's definitely my favourite Wii game of all time, but it's also the year that we both got kittens. I don't think I could review a game without my little 8-bit and Quasar keeping me company. Get out of it.
Yeah, it was definitely the year of the gaming cats for us both. My little cat Merlin has been my faithful companion every step of the way. Keyboard hogger, desk sitter, and eternal couch buddy. I love him very much. Cats.
Now, it is a good game tradition to have a blooper reel in the final episode of the year, but we just did not have time with so many games to cram in, so we've chucked them on the web.
Yes, just pop on over to the site and you can view all of our craptacular takes from the year, and a few from Goose as well. The Zelda games are truly the stuff of legends. The series have always managed to capture that unrivaled sense of adventure no matter how many times the story is retold.
And this year Nintendo are celebrating the 25th anniversary of Zelda with what might be the best in the series so far, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword.
Skyward Sword is a prequel of sorts to Ocarina of Time, which is a first for a series that has made a habit of making its storylines exclusively separate. When we first meet Link, he's enrolled as a student in an airborne academy in the floating town of Skyloft. From there we meet a colourful cast of characters including Link's childhood friend, Zelda.
In another first for the series, the relationship between the two is set up right from the start, with some rather awkward young love. Soon, however, the inevitable occurs and Zelda is swept away below the clouds by a mysterious storm to a forgotten but possibly familiar world below. It is then up to Link to set off on his usual quest to save her and discover the mystery behind the Skyward Sword.
This time, the fiendish and flamboyant Demon Lord Girahim is attempting to resurrect his old master and needs Zelda to do it. But to say any more about the story would ruin the experience. As usual, there is the absence of voice acting, just your usual grunts and chuckles, but the cinematic cutscenes and sharp writing will pull you through what is quite possibly one of the most emotional Zelda tales to date.
The game also adopts a whole new art style, which gives the world a painterly look. Characters have a stylized cartoon charm about them, and objects in the distance will fade into a watercolorish blur. But hex, every time it switched into the first person, I couldn't help but wince at how low res it looked up close.
Yeah, overall though, I think that watercolor look is a really clever way of dealing with the Wii's obvious graphical limitations, especially with a game of this size. The game takes a little longer than usual to get going. Link will slowly obtain all of his usual gear, and there's also a new stamina system to get your head around. But, you know, I found those first few hours exploring your hometown with Zelda helped establish their relationship, but yeah, I was more than happy to jump into the action when that first quest finally got underway.
To help you on your adventure, you're visited by the spirit of the Skyward Sword, Fi. After obtaining the sacred weapon, she'll become your guide. Kind of like Navi from Ocarina. She comes in handy, but I found her slightly robotic and lacks some of the personality of the other sidekicks from the other games.
Yeah, I found her voice was really annoying sometimes with that auto-tune, but I did like her calm, calculated approach to everything. Along with assisting you with objectives and even giving you the occasional hint, she also grants you the ability to turn your sword into a dowsing rod that utilizes the Wiimote to point and hunt down treasures as you discover new areas. You know, it's so common in Zelda games to get to that point where you have no idea where to go next, so, you know, a dowsing rod really comes in handy.
And once you get deeper into the questing here, you start to realize that this Zelda is more about quality over quantity. Unlike the vast oceans of Wind Waker, for example, you'll traverse a world map made up of floating islands and switch the sailing for soaring through the skies on your trusty Loftwing.
While flying around doesn't quite recreate that Hyrule Field moment from Ocarina, it certainly comes close. And, you know, just diving off islands and calling for your bird buddy is so exhilarating. From the skies, you can then explore and discover other islands full of secrets like hidden chests and minigames, just like the sailing sections of Wind Waker, but luckily they've cut down the travel times in this one. I remember being able to go and make a cup of tea in the time it took to sail around that map.
Yeah, or do a poop. Aside from these airborne sections, most of this game takes place under the clouds, where you explore a world full of forgotten ruins and monsters. Each new area you discover contains its own series of challenges and puzzles, feeling more like mini versions of the dungeons that you will eventually reach later on. It does a great job of keeping the action flowing constantly.
Yeah, and there's been a huge improvement to the dungeons this time around. They're nowhere near as overwhelming as they have been in previous games, but they still maintain a fantastic sense of scale, and each one is unique. One in particular involves Link transporting a time-bending crystal that alters everything around it, making for some fiendishly clever puzzles. There's great emphasis on the action too. Challenging puzzle rooms like these are bookended by great action set pieces and even better boss battles that are just unlike anything we've seen in this series.
Yeah, and overall, there are fewer locations, but they've all been designed cleverly, so when you go back to them, you're with a new item or a new ability, there's a new set of enemies or different secrets and challenges, and so you feel like you're never really backtracking.
After you start traveling between these areas, you won't be forced to travel back to the hub town very often, which I think is a real shame because it's kind of easy to miss out on some of the brilliant side quests that are available there. There's only a minor amount compared to something like Majora's Mask, but they still serve as an enjoyable distraction from your main quest. There's also an option to upgrade and reinforce your gear in town using treasures that you've collected. It's a simple mechanic that's entirely optional, but it adds a layer of depth to a game that's usually played exactly the same way by everybody.
And it's nice to have a bit of customization to your gear this time around too. Of course, the biggest addition is Wii Motionplus. In the last Zelda game on Wii, you had waggling gestures to mimic the style of swordplay. Here, the technology allows you to be directly in control of Link's blade as he slices and dices through obstacles and enemies at different angles. I don't like to waggle hex, but I found this was quite intuitive, and I especially enjoyed hoisting my blade up for a skyward slash. It's not quite one-to-one, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, it's a strange feeling though, isn't it? Each enemy you face is a little mini puzzle that you have to solve and defeat, but once you get the hang of it, you'll savor every duel with those classic enemies.
The rest of the motion controls are hit and miss. For instance, while navigating a mechanical beetle feels fluid and intuitive, trying to shake the remote at the same time to get your loft wing to flap faster feels clunky and out of control.
Yeah, and you can really see the evolution from games like Wii Sports Resort with the controls there. I mean, especially the swordplay and skydiving, which are all echoed in Link's actions. But in the end, the pros outweigh the cons, and Nintendo prove again that when done right, motion controls can add a whole new experience to an aging formula.
Speaking of formulas, this is pretty formulaic, isn't it? It's not really a criticism, but after 20 hours here, you are just going through the motions, where you chase after Zelda, complete a dungeon, collect a treasure, learn a song, rinse and repeat.
But Barger, that's the charm of the Zelda series. I mean, it's a classic story retold, and this time I think they've found a really lovely way to tell it. I mean, there's so many nods to previous games in the series, and you can see all the love that's gone into the style and the design, and the music. I mean, some of those orchestral tunes stand up as some of the best in the series.
I always forget just how engaging the puzzles are in the Zelda games, and they make you feel smart when you finish them because they're all about lateral thinking and tests of memory. This is a big adventure, and it's told well, and even the motion controls won me over, so I'm giving it 9 out of 10 rubber chickens.
You know, there's been a lot of talk as to whether or not this game could knock Ocarina of Time off its pedestal, and, you know, to be honest, I don't think it's fair to compare the two. I do wish there was a little bit more to do outside of the main quests so that I felt as connected to the townsfolk as I did to the main characters, but, you know, that aside, I was completely hooked. This is definitely the best Zelda game on the Wii, and, you know, with the Wii U not that far off, I think this is probably going to be the last great game on the Wii, so I'm giving it 9.5 out of 10 rubber chickens. 2011 has been a remarkable year for games, hasn't it, guys? I mean, we've given out more 10s this year than ever before.
Yeah, it's just been incredible. And now the time has come to pick the best of the lot. The best game of 2011 as voted by you, the viewers, and there have been so many contenders. Witcher 2, Batman Arkham City,
Dark Souls, LA Noire.
Yeah, just to name a few. But Darren, if you could please, the nominees.
The viewer-selected nominees are Portal 2, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim,
Oh, careful!
Battlefield 3, and Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception.
And the winner is Skyrim!
But to be fair, there were a lot of fantastic games this year, but really there was no competition. Everyone in our office has been obsessed with this masterpiece, and yet we've all taken profoundly different paths and had completely different experiences.
Yeah, we even organised a huge Battlefield 3 event this weekend, and I think we lasted about half an hour before we all just went back to Skyrim. It's just such a big game with dragons and looting and action and emergent gameplay. And lizard men.
You may play a shaggy Viking, but Bethesda has really given their RPG formula a haircut. They got rid of weapon degradation and they streamlined the skill system to the point where it's just about invisible.
Some developers get attached to the rusted-on features of their franchises, and it takes a lot of guts to saw off that dead wood. Bethesda did that, and so much more. Even with its multitude of game-breaking bugs and broken quests, Skyrim is still our game of 2011.
Yay!
3 cheers for Skyrim! Huzzah!
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 Woo!
Let's go kill some dragons.
Huzzah!
Good game!
Merry Christmas, happy holidays to everyone watching Good Game. Great holiday season.
So, did you guess the game for this week? It was, of course, Clay Fighter 63 1/3, a parody fighting game that featured stop-motion and claymation-style graphics. One of the unlockable characters was Sumo Santa, who used his stomach to flatten opponents.
So guys, that brings us to the end of the show, and it's time to announce the winner of Batman.
Yes, we had over 300 entries, and those comic strips were incredible. I know we say this every time, but it was near impossible to pick a winner.
Yeah, it sure was, but thank you to everyone who did send in an entry. We enjoyed reading each and every one of them.
But there can only be one winner.
We have, however, chosen our favourite entries to go up on the website for everyone to see, and those people are...
There's a small prize pack on the way to each of you.
Head over to the website to take a look for yourselves. Now, to the viewer who's going to get to keep Batman forever.
And the winner is... Flopsy, also known as Chris from Alderstone, Tasmania.
Hex, I'm in position. Do you copy?
I read you, Barjo. Do you have a visual on Mr. Freeze?
I see him. He's playing Dance Dance Revolution.
Right and left and forward and round.
Looks like mad fun.
Keep your mind on the mission, Barjo. Freeze has frozen the world's supply of games and... Barjo, are you crying?
Just thinking about all those games that will never be played.
Oh, just get in there.
Okay. Move aside, window. Pause for dramatic effect, and...
So, we meet again, Batman.
Freeze! But how did you know I was here?
You broke a hole in my window.
Oh, yeah?
Typical, you bats are all the same.
What are you talking about?
Your friend busted in here not half an hour ago.
Goose!
Sup?
Hey, what are you wearing?
Oh, this thing? It's just a little thing I whipped up.
It's a bat suit.
Huh? Oh, so it is.
Goose, I'm Batman.
Yeah, so you keep saying.
Silence, Batmans!
This doesn't work. I'm Batman. We had this conversation.
Guys, I'm talking here.
You know, you're supposed to be Robin.
Firing my freeze ray!
I'm still Batman.
Whatever, bro.
Congratulations. We'll get bats boxed up and sent to you ASAP.
A big thank you to everyone who entered, and while we're saying thank yous, we also wanted to say a massive thanks to all of the game devs and the people who support the industry for making the games that we've played this year. I mean, we couldn't do it without you.
And of course, everyone here at the ABC who helps behind the scenes. We couldn't make the show without them.
And a special thanks to you, the viewers, for watching and downloading and tweeting along with us and posting on the forums and playing games with us. It's been a wonderful year.
We will return in early February for another year of Good Game and Spawn Point.
Are you going to join us again next year, Goose?
Yeah, definitely, guys. I've already started working on my first story for next year.
Oh yeah, what's it about?
Well, given the last couple of weeks, I thought we'd look into street dates and the implications when they're broken. It has happened a lot recently, as we all know.
Cool. Well, guys, I guess that's it. Time to hit that pile of shame. Till next year, gamers, may all your games be good ones. Hex out.
See you next year. Goose out.
Batman out. Stay vigilant.
Darren out.
Don't forget to put your entries in for the Rayman print. Until next year, happy holidays. Barjo out. Took a bit longer with my one.
Had to milk it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Had to milk it. Final thoughts, Barjo?
I think it's clear.
What do you do when your Wii freezes?
There's the tantalizing tactics of Tactics Ogre. So much tacticals.